It's now time for the big story. The Jamaica Labour Party has criticized the People's National Party's election manifesto, calling it shambolic and artificially generated. The JLP claims the manifesto is a clone of existing government projects and lacks credibility. And they had a press conference where a number of points were made, including dismissal of the manifestos lacking credibility and poorly put together, some of the words that were used to describe the PNP's manifesto by members of the Jamaica Labour Party. Without further ado, let me say good morning and welcome to Marlon Morgan. Morning, Marlon. How are you doing today?
Hi, good morning, Richard B. Good morning to your listeners, and I wish everyone is doing well. I am fine. We're in the midst of, an intense campaign, so it's demanding, but we're up to the task as always, and we're clear on the mission ahead in terms of communicating to the people of Jamaica, doing so in a respectful and engaging manner, and of course, seeking to secure their support ahead of the September 3 polls that are to be taken.
But certainly, when your party, Marlon, uses terms like the manifesto of your opposition is lacking credibility and poorly put together, those are definitely far from compliments, and it will rile up the opposition. What made the JLP feel that way?
So just to be clear, remember, we are not essentially obliged to compliment our opponents. We are sober in our reflections and sober in our deliberations. And if we see solutions and proposals that merit compliment, then that will ensue. Now, I want your listeners and yourself, Richard B., to appreciate some context and background in relation to this whole manifesto thing. So a manifesto is, yes, a statement of intent. It sets out, your commitments and so on. But the truth of the matter is that a manifesto has to be understood as only being of value to the extent that it is coherent, credible, and of course, the persons making the commitment have a proven track record or some credibility in delivering. Now, in relation to the lead up to all of this, the PNP has been in opposition on aggregate now 9.5 years. In this term, it's just under 5 years that they have been in opposition. And in a context where they have, over the period of time, said that they're not going to be placing their proposals on the table to the Jamaican people out of fear that they will be appropriated or hijacked by their opponents in the Jamaica Labour Party. For them to have come with a manifesto that we have examined and have concluded that it is largely a copy and paste of programs that the JLP already has in train, or there are some ideas and proposals there that are simply, not credible and not well thought out in our view. Yes? It just goes to show where they are in terms of a hardly put together document, as we communicated at the press conference yesterday, which is why you see it laced with the inaccuracies that it is laced with. This is the same PNP, Richie B., that criticized our achievement document because there was a misspelled word. The word Jamaica was misspelled, and they have come to market with a manifesto that we believe they were rushed to do, largely as a means of seeking to respond to the Jamaica Labour Party's achievements document. They have come to market with a document replete with typographical errors and misspelled words.
Let us move away from generalizations then and pinpoint some of the what you call inaccuracies and some of the errors that you believe are clearly copying what the Jamaica Labour Party has or has promoted.
So several words have been misspelled. Strengthening churches. At one point, they have the word for, like forehead, instead of for, F-O-R, and a host of other, typographical errors. But that's not the germane conversation we in the Jamaica Labour Party are seeking to have. What we have been saying is that It is not surprising, Richard B., that when you have a government that has been performing so well in all the critical areas of national life and national development, it's easy to see why the PNP would have had little room to maneuver. And so when you look at education, for example, they are proposing to do certain things in relation to special needs. And the truth of the matter is that we are already doing that insofar as screening for learning disabilities and learning challenges. We have a facility that is being built out as we speak at the College of Agriculture, Science and Education. They also speak about, in their foreign affairs section, an attempt to restore, or activate CARICOM re-engagement. That is already happening. So in large part, they try to frame what they have set out. For example, use of AI and the establishment of an AI and ethics committee. We in the Jamaica Labour Party, our government has already articulated and presented the Caribbean's first artificial intelligence policy in education. They speak about digital ID cards, for example, Richie B, with biometric security. Does that not sound like needs? The very needs, the national ID, the identification system that the PNP has spent years to try and tear down, even challenged it in the court. They now have in this 2025 manifesto a proposal to introduce a digital ID card. So it gives you a clear sense that they are doing a number of things in all the sectors. When I saw a post on social media from my colleague Marlon Morgan, who handles the road infrastructure portfolio, as it were, he did a social media post where he set out a number of claims that they have in their manifesto, things that are already in train in relation to road development, construction, and maintenance. So, all in all, what we've seen is very little innovation and creativity, very little hard work. As Dana Morris Dixon contended last afternoon, Richard B., you get the sense that there is this AI-generated manifesto in large part. And whatever they didn't generate via AI, as she has contended, you literally have copy and paste out of already existing JLP government programs to include engaging the diaspora on constitutional reform, work vis-a-vis literacy and numeracy, all of these things that are already happening.
Mm-hmm. Another member of the Jamaica Labour Party, Marlon, I note, the Minister of Finance, or Finance Minister Favour Williams, I'm sorry, she publicly questioned the PNP plans to fund many of their proposals, calling their claim of using discretionary financing a fiction. What exactly do you have to say on that score this morning?
Well, and as Minister Williams quite rightly and appropriately set out in her presentation at the press conference yesterday, the Jamaican budget has certain elements. You have salaries, wages and salaries, because government employs workers and you have public sector workers. That salary line to honor. The government also has capital expenditure, which, government can prioritize accordingly. And government has interest costs that it has to pay. But significantly, government has what are called programs. Now, what the PNP seems to be harping on whenever it speaks about its initiatives and this whole notion of discretionary spend or discretionary funds, there's no substantial line item, as it were, vis-a-vis discretionary funds. They're referring to programs. And what Favour Williams did last afternoon, as I have done on several occasions, is to simply take the PNP to task and ask them which of the existing suite of programs, because when we speak of programs, Richard B., we're talking about items of government expenditure that are recurring. In other words, you have to find the resources over and over to do them. For example, putting medicine at our clinics and dispensaries across the island, putting food in our hospital for, persons who are accessing health care. You talk about fueling vehicles across the public service. You're talking about providing money for PATH and other such interventions. So these are things that are financed through what is called programs. That's what programs mean. So all we're saying to the PNP, when you speak about, this discretionary spend, indicate to the Jamaican people which farm roads you're not going to fix, which path program you're going to cut, or any other program you're going to cut in order to do what you're setting out in your quote-unquote wish list. Mm-hmm. And they have not been able to so articulate. They have indicated some items of expenditure. For example, $1 billion for creatives. We already have $1 billion fund for the film industry that we did 2 Januaries ago, and a host of other things like that. And what we're simply saying is that it does not add up when you consider the revenue the PNP is planning to give up and the expenditure, the additional expenditure that it is proposing, the additional things it is proposing to do. The two simply do not compute. So when the PNP elects to put back the $11.4 billion to the NHD, they're electing to forego more money in relation to an employer's tax credit. The PNP is also proposing to, on the expenditure side, that is, give up the income tax from small and medium-sized entities. It is very clear to us, and it is very clear for any reasonable reader to recognize that the PNP's approach to their manifesto is to simply look around the country at some things that they think can grab votes for them or attract votes for them and come with those things rather than come with a comprehensive, sustainable, and credible vision for Jamaica's development and roadmap to get Jamaica to that place of development. They have not done that, which is why they have just run around the place and are seeking to, just engage little segments of the society, little segments of the population to say to Rastas, if you vote for us, we will, give Rasta representation in the Senate. They're saying to Maroons, if you vote for us, we will give you representation in the Senate. And the truth of the matter is that how the Senate is composed and constituted does not preclude any deserving or, of course, fit and proper person from so serving. But we see the PNP seeking to use Senate appointments, as alleged by Lawrence Rowe some weeks and months ago, as a little bargaining chip.
Let me get another aspect into the conversation. Yesterday, we spoke with Damian Crawford of the People's National Party, and he was here highlighting a number of aspects of the PNP Manifesto. He did say that they have some other areas that they will be putting forward, but I get the feeling. My understanding is that they're not in a rush to put those forward because of the fear, as he would put it, that the JLP might in fact copy some of what they're coming with. So they do.
You realize that's a joke, right? You are in an election. You are the party in opposition seeking to secure the votes of the public. And you have literally reduced the whole notion of a manifesto, which is a serious conversation. You have made it a fiasco. And it is not surprising. Even Damian Crawford's school day extension is not in the manifesto. So the PNP was considerably embarrassed a couple of weeks based on the flack that Damian got and the PNP as a whole got for his proposed extension of the school day by 2 hours. And it underscores one of the points we make in criticizing the PNP in relation to its plans for Jamaica, or should I say the lack thereof, Richie B. Mm-hmm. And that is, you get this experimental trial and error dynamic coming out in what they're doing. So they will say things at a meeting or they will say things on the campaign platform, and then when it doesn't find favor with the public, they simply pull it back or walk it back, or they try to pull the wool over people's eyes, as Dayton Campbell sought to do just about last year this time when he spoke about add a little thing to imported agricultural items.
All right.
So Damian Crawford had proposed to increase GCT, in his view, to fund education, and Dayton Campbell proposed to put a tax on imported, add a little thing, meaning put a new import duty on food items being imported into the country. And when those matters came for considerable public flack, and denigration, that is when the PNP essentially step back and walk it back, as Damian Crawford has now done, as the PNP has now done in relation to his 2 hours extension of the school day.
Now,
you can't reduce a serious matter to a fiasco in the way the PNP has been doing it.
I heard.
It can't be experimental or trial and error.
I hear you.
It's a clear hit or miss business for them.
All right, I hear you loud and clear. Now, that leads me to my next question, Marlon, which is, when can the Jamaican public expect the JLP to launch its manifesto? And, sort of what can we look forward to?
Indeed. Thanks for that question, because in this campaign, and I can appreciate Richard B., an election campaign has a lot to do with strategy and tactics, and you get the clear sense that the PNP is focused largely on what the JLP's moves are. And all I will say to your listeners is this. So to answer your question in very clear terms, the JLP will be coming to market with its manifesto. Our manifesto is in fact ready, and we will get that out quite shortly. In other words, in a matter of days. So just to be very clear, Richie B., we have approached this campaign in a deliberate and well-considered way. We know that we have been in office for 9.5 years, and some of the game-changing things, some of the life-impacting things that we have done, there are some segments of the population that may, forget or not necessarily appreciate some of them. And the truth of the matter is that good government and good running of the country has become so normalized based on how we have run the country these past 9.5 years that people can readily forget some things. So even when you think about the 8 consecutive years of no new taxes, the 10 consecutive years of no net new taxes, you get the clear sense that it has become so normalized that people may begin to, not appreciate the value of that and how important it is considering where we have come from. So we know that good government has been normalized, which is why we prioritized, Richie B., our achievements to just get that back out into the public domain, play that up, underscore that, and impress upon the Jamaican people that, listen, we are the set of people with capacity. We are the set of people with a proven track record. We have been tried, tested, and proven, and we are the safer pair of hands that the electorate should entrust Enterprise Jamaica to. We have the better team, the better leader. Darval said it in Halfway Tree on Sunday at our mass rally. If you consider Horace Chang versus Peter Bunting, Peter Bunting cannot walk in Horace Chang's shoe in terms of how effective Horace Chang has been as National Security Minister. If you juxtapose Dana Morris Dixon with the thespian and comedian called Damian Crawford, you get a clear sense that it's chalk to cheese. Dana Morris Dixon is a safer pair of hands in education than Damian Crawford. When you look at foreign affairs, Kamina Johnson-Smith is better than Angela Brown-Burke. Desmond McKenzie, in my view, is more solid than Natalie Nita Garvey. Olivia Babsy-Grange is more solid than Denise Daly.
And you could go on and
Andrew
on.
Holness.
Yes.
Andrew Holness is more solid than Mark Golding, and Edmund Bartlett is more solid than Janice Allen or Wickham McNeil.
All right. But let me ask you, though. I mean, we're expecting...
So our manifesto is coming short.
Yes, I heard you. Within a matter of days. You said within a matter of days. I expect a manifesto to tell us about the party's plans should they become government for youth empowerment, rural development, some things like security and safety,
all the key areas,
education and healthcare, job creation, economic strategy. I want to find out from you whether or not your manifesto will in fact show clear differences in terms of policy and economic strategy.
Undoubtedly, Richie B. And I'll tell you why. Because you can appreciate, we are the set of people who have been at the wicket for 9.5 years. We have been in government, we're seized of the assignment, we're seized of the task at hand and the mission at hand. We know that building Jamaica is a process, it's a journey. We're on the road to that. It's, in terms of that roadmap which was started back in 2016, the whole vision for Jamaica becoming a safer, more peaceful and prosperous society. So if you think about it, we have managed to consolidate and secure what is called macroeconomic stability over these past 2 terms. Last October or November it was, the Prime Minister indicated he gave an economic policy statement using the acronym ASPIRE and using the word pivot, meaning we're pivoting towards accelerated levels of growth. And a key element in that, Richie B, is where Audrey Marks come in, which is why you heard the Prime Minister making the point that there is an important role for her to play in a future JLP government, because she has been appointed our efficiency minister, as it were, the minister who is seeking to look at government operations, examine government services, and see how we can reform them, make them more fit for purpose and effective in a bid to make life easier for the Jamaican people. Because public procurement, for example, is one of those critical bugbears. It's a critical humbug to how efficient, government works, and we have reformed public procurement in terms of revise the Public Procurement Act, and that is all intended to remove bureaucratic red tape and make, the execution of projects, for example, that will impact the lives of the Jamaican people that much easier and that much more seamless. We have a vision for Jamaica, Richie B, and you will see that set out in our manifesto in all the critical areas of national life and national development, whether it is in national security, the state of infrastructure, education, as you have heard Dana Morris Dixon indicate, the kinds of labs that we're providing for our schools, mechatronic laboratories, robotics laboratories, state-of-the-art labs at many schools, whether it's TETS, STATS, Herbert Morrison, yes? You name it. These schools are being fitted with state-of-the-art laboratories under this government, because that, education and training is how you lift up your people, improve your workforce, have them certified, and be able to usher in higher paying jobs.
All right.
We have a vision for Jamaica that you will see in our manifesto for a 3rd term of office, as we seek a 3rd successive term of office.
All right. Marlon, nice having you as always, man. Great talking, and you have a wonderful day. Yeah, man. Take care. Marlon Morgan is a member of the JLP Communications Task Force, and he was our guest this morning in the Big Story segment of the Richie B. Morning Show.